Alright, I went down to Menards and bought some old rough construction lumber. I run the 8-foot boards, cut them down to the lengths I need, I think 20 inches and 24 inches. And I needed 3 at 20 and 1 at 24 for some carvings that I'm going to be doing. And, basically just jointed the round edges off of them so I could get a reasonably good joint. These will be 3D carved on the top surface, so they will be carved back down about 1/4 inch at least, and then so anything that's on the top they'll kind of get a flattening out of it. Anyway, there's 4 of them in here, and they're glued together with tight bond, and I took the clamps off and wiped underneath them so I wouldn't have any glue stains on them. And of course I used the brackets here for gluing up so that the clamps would sit down in here while I was gluing, keeps them parallel. And I kind of like that up there. That's high. I didn't have to bend over or stoop much for that. And, doing a good job on that. These, the difference between a regular old 2x6 when you get it from Lowe's is, it's, of course, it's got quite a bit of stuff on it that, would not be desirable to have. But, edges are round for glue ups. I mean, you basically have to join them, and the joining is making the edges square. And, when you join them, and generally that works out pretty good for that. So, getting along that line there. So today I will be carving them out, and this is a leftover husk from one of them. This was a little bit longer. I cut my boards down to 20 inches. This circle's 19 inches, so I went 20 inches. That'll give me a place there to put screws in the corner. Anyway, that's an old husk from a previous carve, and we used, I had that one donated to the campground for in the leaders' dorms in there to hang on the wall. So I've got commission by donation to the district for 3 more of those, and then the 24 inches for a sign for one of the Ranger guys putting in his garage. He's wanting it 3D carved. So these are all 3D carved, so we're using ball noses and the whole gambit on that. So, and then while the machine's running, I'll get some oak out of the back behind there off these racks, and I've got to make some 3/8 inch boards out of some oak and get them lined up. So that's cedar and walnut back there, and this is the oak. So I'll be getting some of that off of there, resawing it down to about 1/2 inch thick stuff, and then planing it down to 3/8 and gluing it up. So we'll get some of that out and get her going. But anyway, that's what's on the line for today. Making a shooter's box with that, and it's raining outside, so it's a good day to be in the shop, nice and dry. Alright, took a few pieces off the top of that and restrapped her back down. And of course that's all on dollies, but that helps keep it flat and keeps it from falling over. And this is the lumber that I got for that box. I'm going to have to cut out the parts out of it that I don't want to include, and resaw it down to 3/8, get my widths down to where I got some good lumber in it. Anything that's really, really bad, I'll cut it out. And, but hey, that's part of dealing with wood that you cut from logs. And of course that's all was sealed, and to keep the checking down. For the biggest part, it did a pretty good job. This has been kiln dried for getting rid of the bugs. Put it in 140 degrees for 3-4 hours while I left it in overnight and let it cook. And that was after getting all the water out of it. Pretty much got it down about 8%, and then put the heat treatment to it. So there we go. And of course the construction grade rounds are there. I'll start loading them up and start cutting on them and get that going as soon as I'm past the sleeping in hours. I don't want to wake the neighbors up or my wife, which would be a wrong error doing. Anyway, we'll keep it honest and right up front and keep that going. All right, I just did some plaques here the other day and just run some on, but basically my top has been run over with a 2-inch mill, and it's been flattened. Again, this is after literally hundreds of cuts on this deal, and as I shave them down and do my fills, my little 3/4 inch piece is now down to about 1/2 inch. So I'll keep milling it down to where I get down to my MDF, and then I have nylon bolts down in there, and they're down there. Then I'll glue a new piece on, but these are for more clamping on the sides, and they can easily be removed with a couple screws. So on some of my big panels, my cutting area is 25, but I rarely get out to that edge. So 24 by 24 is about as big as I generally will cut, and this will allow me to do some more screwing or putting some little clamps on it on the outside. But anyway, these, what I do is I just generally get 4x8 sheets of 1/4 inch Luan, as cheap as I can get. It costs about $21, $22 a sheet. It used to be $13, $14 a sheet, but anyway, just plain old piece of Luan. I'll take that down there and I'll shoot that down with this Milwaukee 23 gauge pin nailer with some 1/2 inch nails in it, and I'll shoot that down there, and that'll hold it. And then of course the bit's hit, it doesn't hurt it because the nails are soft enough that it doesn't make any difference to it. Anyway, so I'll get that done, and then I'll start getting these jigged up and mount them up. You know, when you're using these 23 gauge pin nailers, you know, they have some with air. Of course, this one is the M12 format, and I think I shoot 700 nails on one charge, so you virtually just keep using then that. But anyway, it's got different you know, different pin nails in it. These are 1 3/8", I believe is what they are, and I generally use mostly the 1/4 inch, depending on what I'm using, you know, what I want. But anyway, you just put the arrows pointed down in the gun, and you're good to go. So you put them in there and slide her shut, and we're ready to go. We'll pin that down with that. And this is a little deal. I think I got this one from Walmart. Anyway, it works great in the fishing section. Works great. Put the little pin nails in, and let's get that done. You know, as you get wear and tear on the machine, this one is 3 years old or better. I've shot thousands and thousands of pin nails through it, and I've only had it jammed 2 or 3 times. And in this case, it's not shooting 1/2 inch, so you basically, you know, use this. I keep this in the kit in there as well because it matches it. And just pull them out of the front, and of course I pull the battery out, pull the tip off of it, and then you have your, you know, faceplate down in there. And generally you're going to find a little bitty bent nail in there. As you can see, there's one right there, and you know, there you go. So let's get that little guy out of there and get the back. So you're asking, how can you get something in there that's going to clear that pin nail out of there? This is a scroll saw blade with no pins on it, and that's the one thing that I found works the best in getting down there, because you can get it down in there and start pulling it out of there, getting in there. So that's what I'm going to use to get that nail pin out of there with just a little scroll saw blade. Alright, all I did was just take this and start jamming it down in there where the nail comes out. As you can see, this little guy come out of there, and generally what I do is I'll just put it back together, shoot a little lubricant in it, and away we'll go again. But you know, stuff happens, and it'll run for a long time without having to ever do this again, but you gotta be ready for it. Alright, all secure in Sector 7 down flat. I'm gonna put the 24 inch on there and start carving. A lot of things I like just to use the corner to corner method. You can't hardly miss anything when you're using the center of the material, so I just go corner to corner with the yardstick. I'm going to take a framing square, and then I'll hit that right there, which allows me to line everything up really well. And as you get a little older, your eyes' vision is not quite as good as it was when you were younger, and it takes you a little while to see what you got going on. But anyway, this edge will get all, you know, cut down just a hair, and then the modeling will be built out of it. So we're going to get that started, get her bolted down here or screwed down. All right, there's that. That took 1 hour and 10 minutes to do the rough carving, and that was just basically going around it multiple times and it's starting to leave the eyes out and the parts of the moon out, and then it will do the bull roster and all that good stuff and carve in the other stuff. So we'll just see how this goes. So I'm going to take that out and put the ball nose in. That was an hour and 10 minutes on that one. Alrighty, just rolled off this corner, and there's my 1/4 inch ball nose bit down to about 3/4 of an inch, and there's my, I don't know what to call it, levels of deal where the ball nose will go over that and trim that up. So we'll let it go, and then we'll see what we get out of it. Alright, ball nose is going to town. Been at it for 17 minutes. Cutting that thing down, and we'll start getting it down to all the different levels. And it's 9%. So it's going to be running a little while. And it goes around there and it just takes off a very little bit as it goes around there. Sometimes it takes off the side, sometimes it takes off the top. Alright, that's 30 minutes into it. So they're starting to cut out some of the skull on the top of it. And then they're rounding off the tops of the round of the C. And it is 50%, and that's been running for 26 minutes. Alright, well that thing's been running. I can kind of babysit it. And I've been working on, of course, this other project. This is the shooter's box. This will be the third one that I've made. This is the second one, or I made 2 at a time. This is it. It's all red oak, box jointed. Made it out of 3/8 red oak. And of course, it's got the hasp and the handle on it. And then, you know, it's a nice box. So I took a bunch of that earlier, right over there, and resawed it on the table saw, you know, to about a 1/2 inch thickness. Against the fence, I only sawed about maybe 1.5 inches into it. Cut most of my boards down to this width, these widths in here. This is the widest board. And then, of course, the saw went on both sides right here, and it left a little partition in the middle. And so basically, then I took it over to the bandsaw and I cut that out, and of course you can see the part that I cut out. And now the next thing I'll do is I'll plane them down to all the same thickness and glue them up, join them and then glue them up, and that hopefully will be my boxes. And I always start off with a lot more wood than I really think I'll need. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty much 4 layers that'll go all around that one right there. And they're 16 inches, so you know it should be enough. 16 inches long on the box, and then probably 10 inches wide. So hopefully that'll be enough after I get it all glued up, put back together. I will say, you know, the knots and the blemishes, they really actually add quite a bit to the beauty of the box, the ruggedity. This is rough red oak, and you know it's got, you know, it's got lots of stuff in it. And of course I cut out some of the runs of the boring beetles and the different things like that. Cut some of that out of there, and some of it I left in for the patina. And you know, here's a piece right here, and you never know, that may be getting left in the box. And if it does, this one knot here, I'll fill that with some epoxy or super glue and stabilize it. It's a little bit loose, so I don't know, I may not. But anyway, I'll make those calls as soon as I can. And there we go. Alright, all the scraps from those resawing, I put everything that was a 1/4 inch or less over here in this stack, and the stuff that could be passed on is 1/4 inch, or you know, the 3/8 over in this stack. And I went ahead and glued or taped them in sections with masking tape, right? Because I get a habit of sliding out, making a mess. And so anyway, this is all generally my thinner stuff. It's less than 1/2 inch thick. I keep it right in here so I know where to get some piece if I need some. And then every now and then I'll do a project where I will take some of them and try and use them up and get them out of the way. Well, I cleaned out this for the first time since I bought it a 1.5 years ago. The bag, this was full. I was running some planers and I let it overfill, and so it filled the inner bag. And I noticed that my suction was way down because the filter was getting clogged up. It was totally full on the inner bag, and I used a just paper bag inside that. But the dust deputy was totally full to the brim, so everything was going in and packing that. And anyway, so there you go. But even the filter was basically clean because of the bag and everything. Now it's back to suction full, and I just got to watch it because I'm just make sure that it's empty. That thing over there is probably full too. This is 7%, and we went 1 hour and 22 minutes. This is the finish deal where it's cutting in the finish. Put hair over halfway on that. Alright, we're getting to 75% of the way there. It's been running for just a little bit under 2 hours. And bottom hose is running around there, and it's starting to get down to the edges. Got all the little losses that are in there preserved. It's going around here and it's picking up the very edges of it and tapering it down, so on a flat surface, that's a 3D surface at different heights and different angles. So coming along there just good. Going around. All right. Well, there that part is. And there's your skull coming out. And all that little pits are good. That all looks pretty good. We're going to get into the other parts. Alright, that finish cut took 2 hours and 25 minutes. That was with a 1/4 inch ball nose. Alrighty, that 1/4 inch groove took 4 minutes and 22 seconds. That was for the ring right here. So that's working good. And let's move on to the V-bit. Alright, she's went down and cut her down. I may have just a little bit on the bottom there. I'll clean that up with a flat bit. Anyway, so there we are. And that was 9 minutes and 18 seconds. And the V-bit took right about, I think it was 10 minutes or so. It wasn't very long. Anyway, so I'm going to take that out, clean it up, put a keyhole slot on the back of it, and then get her sanded up. Alrighty. It came out pretty good. It's pretty cool. And I'll just put a clear coat over it just to finish it. So I think he said he was going to paint it. So there you go.